back at that worksheet, and then today we have something also that I think is important, and it's the last lesson before we start studying. So now again, I think I sent you the solutions last night. I was hoping you'd kind of look them up, make sure you're on the right track. Does anybody want me to explain something on the rationalizing the denominators? All good? Boys, you all good? Girls, is there something I need to show you? Allison, you all good? Boys up front, everything is good on rationalizing? I agree. It's not that bad, especially if you know the rules. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, now we've covered. All right, so now let's look at today now. Solving radical equations. All right. Now, again, the first 13 are what we say are really, really easy. And then I need some time to show you how to do 15 through 23. Those are kind of hard. All right, and on your test, you'll probably just have one or two of those. All right, but let's take a look now how simple it is to solve a square root.
I mean, I guess I could see how simple it is since it's only one page.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, this is going to require some work down here. Okay, so that's why I want you to please pay attention now. Look at question number 1. It's all right. Look at question number 1. And I want someone to tell me the square root of what number is 40 or is 7?
49.
Square root of 49. So the answer is F equals 49. Now come on, that wasn't that hard. So everybody see that? You can just tell me square root of 49 is what? 7. So the answer is 49. Do you agree?
Yes.
All right. So now, how do we get that if we didn't know it was 49?
We do square.
Yay, very smart, very smart. Very good. To undo a square root, you do what? Square. How do you undo addition? How do you undo subtraction?
Addition.
How do you undo multiplication?
Division.
How do you undo division?
Multiplication.
And then we have a new, we have a new way to solve an equation, all right, that doesn't do with add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So it's called the square and the square root. So if you have a square, to solve a square, we take the what? Square root. If we have a square root, we do what? We square. All right, is everybody with me on this? So now what I want to do is, even though it's very simple, what I want you to do is, I want everybody to put above this right here, square and square. And come on, that's very easy again. All right, very easy. So what happens to the square and the square root again? They cancel out. They're called what? I want everybody to write this down. They're called inverse functions. They're called inverse functions. Everybody okay with that? Inverse functions. All right, so now let's take a look at number 3. So again, how do I get rid of a square root? Squaring both sides. So I'm going to put a square here, and I'm going to put a square there. Everybody with me? And then, what happens to the square and the square root? So I'm left with 5p equals what? Thank you. Good job. 5p equals 100.
So you just put the squares there and then you square the top of the variable?
Yes. Can you tell me why? What happens to this right here? This is the main thing I'm trying to teach you. what happens to that and this? What do they do to each other? You understand that? Right? It's kind of like this. If I say 4x equals 20, remember I just write x equals 5 down. But before we didn't do that. I made you write what? Divide by 4, divide by 4. Because multiplication and division do what to each other? Cancel out. Same thing with addition and subtraction. That's the main thing I'm going to try to tell you. There are inverse functions. All right, so your final answer here is what?
Speaking of 20, it's
Yep,
20.
Yep, P equals 20. P equals 20. All right. Girls, you okay? Well, as you agree, it's very easy. Very easy. Square and square roots cancel each other out. All right. Now,
Oh, you just divided 100 by 5. Okay, I get it.
right? Because we undo multiplication by
Division.
division. Perfect. Okay. Now, this one confuses some kids, so I want everybody to put a little star by this one. We square this side, correct? Now watch. I have to square this side. So what is 2 square roots of 2 squared? What do you think it is, Colin?
I would believe that would be 2 times 2.
Which is?
4.
Anybody else want to think about that? Come on, I want everybody to think for themselves. I'm not saying he's right.
Yeah.
You think he's right? Ben, why don't you tell him what the answer is?
Is it 4?
No. What do you think?
16.
No. What do you think? Come on.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh,
You got to be thinking. Come on.
I'm not really sure.
Come on. You have an opinion. You can't just look at something and
Oh, wait a minute.
say, what is it?
It's 8.
It is 8.
Ah.
It's
clever.
very much 8. And it is clever. So look right here. Listen to me. If you're asking about 2 radical 2 squared, this is why I'm telling you, it's very simple. The reason why you do parentheses is because each part is what? Each part is squared. So now right next to it, I want you to do this. 2 squared, square root of 2 squared. That's what we're doing. We're squaring them individually. So what's 2 squared? 4. And what's the square root of 2 squared? 2. And what holds those two numbers together, guys?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. That's why the answer was U is equal to 8. U is equal to 8. All right? Girls, are you okay with that now? Right? Both of them have to be squared. Both of them have to be squares. Jack, you okay with that now?
Yeah.
You understand me? Come on, guys. I want you to tell me what you're thinking. It's okay to be wrong. All right? It's okay to be wrong when you're learning something. All right? You got to make it make sense to you.
Mr. Shroud, do you know this joke? Why is 6 afraid of 7?
Oh, no.
Uh-huh. It's something about 8.
7, 8,
8,
9.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9. Okay, come on. Stay on task here,
Like I
Colin.
ate the cake.
Shh. Go.
I just have a question about how you got. I get how you get 4 because you had to square both of them. But why is it times 2?
Because this means 2 times the square root of 2.
Oh, that thing. Okay.
So there's multiplication in between there,
Oh, exactly. Like this.
right?
Thank you.
All right. So here we go. Now, the thing that some of you guys forget is you must isolate the square root first. You must isolate the square root first. So what do I have to do for this problem? Come on, somebody tell me. What do I have to do?
We have to transfer the 6 over to x to 3.
That's exactly right.
So
You would do what to both sides? Thank you. Come on, Allison, get involved, girl. That's what I'm telling you. The more you get involved, the better it becomes. That's what you don't understand. Come on, kiddo, that is perfect. Adding 6. Even if you're wrong, it doesn't matter. All right? You're trying to think it through. Perfect. So now I have The square root of g is equal to what? 9. Now how do I undo a square root? Square both sides. So g is equal to what? G is equal to 81. Okay, now everybody take a look at number 9. Is the square root isolated?
Yep.
Yes, it is isolated. So now all we have to do is what? Square both sides. Square both sides. So I end up with 2t minus 1 equals what?
25.
25. Okay, you still with me, right? Now what do I do to both sides? Plus 1. So we just say 2t equals 26. And then what?
Divided by 2.
Divided by 2. T equals 13. T equals 13. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions? Okay, so tell me about number 11. What should I do on number 11?
Don't you add the 2?
Yep, add 2. So you're going to write underneath that the square root of x plus 4 equals what?
3.
3.
Then you square each side.
Then you square each side. So I have,
X plus 4 equals 9.
yep. And so,
Minus 4. Then x equals 5.
yeah, x equals 7. You can take that. You want to take the whole thing? Make it work if you need it. All right, come on. Does anybody have any questions with that? Anybody? Yes, good for you.
How can it be square root of 4 if we get 3?
Good job. You ready? Listen to me. This is important. Right here. The main thing I need you to remember is this right here and this right here do what to each other? They cancel out. You with me on this? So they just wiped out. All right, everything inside stays exactly the way it was. All right, now on number 13, what do I have to do?
Isolate the
Isolate the d by doing what?
3.
By multiplying by 3, right? So I have here square root of d equals what?
12.
12. And now what do I do to both sides?
Square.
Square. So d is equal to what? 144. Everybody okay with this?
Yes.
Right? All right. Now the hard problems. Okay? And they're not really hard if you remember your rules. All right, so I need your attention now. All right, what do you think I have to do first?
Square.
Square both sides. So I want everybody to put a square over here. Now the problem is we have an x squared, okay, which is a quadratic. So I want everybody to be able to tell me that x squared is equal to x plus 2. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
You guys okay with that so far? Now, again, a couple tests back, if you have a quadratic, you must set the quadratic equal to what?
0.
Yes, very good. So when you set the quadratic equal to 0, it becomes x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. Everybody with me on this? Now, after you set it equal to 0, you have to do what? Tell me, Ben.
Why did you x squared?
Because I want the x squared to be positive, not negative. So after I set it equal to 0, what's next, guys?
Then you have to factor it out.
Good. Factor. Very good. 2 sets of parentheses. What's the only way to make x squared, guys?
X.
What's the only way to make 2?
2.
And I want it to be negative,
So -2.
negative 2 and positive 1. Now, again, it's been a while, so if I need to review with you on that, if you want me to show you what I did, remember you're looking at the smiley faces. Negative 2, positive 1, negative 1. Agreed?
Yeah.
So now, set those equal to 0. So x minus 2 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, so x equals 2, or x equals negative 1.
But can't you do the thing that's like x equals -2, x equals +2?
No, because it's not.
Oh,
They're different factors.
okay.
What you're thinking of is if it was plus 2 and minus 2.
Okay.
All right, now, one other thing here now. Now everybody needs to put a note. All right? Square root cannot equal a negative. Square root cannot equal a negative. So if I said to you, what's the square root of 9? Is that possible to be negative 3?
Nope.
Does everybody agree? Okay, so now I want to ask you your question now. Look up, please. See this negative, See this negative 1 right here. I'm going to plug it in to see if it works. It'll be, now this is important, it'll be negative 1 is equal to the square root of negative 1 plus 2. Is that possible?
Nope.
Because you can't have a square root equal to a what? Negative. Come on, you got to hear me. No matter how hard we try, we're not going to get a negative answer. Does everybody agree? So again, this is what we in math people call an extraneous solution. We've talked about that. We did all the math correct. It's not possible to get that answer. So the only answer is what? 2. Now how do I know 2 works? Because I'm going to plug it in. 2 equals the square root of 2 plus 2. Well, what's 2 plus 2? Square root of 4.
2.
2 equals 2. Right? Is everybody agreeing with me? Come on now, you guys are quiet today, so I'm trying to make sure you're understanding. Is everybody okay with that? So most of the time when you have a square root equation, they always say check for extraneous solutions. Check for extraneous solutions. Is everybody okay with that? All right, so let me grab 17 now. All right. All right, here we go for 17. So what do I have to do to both sides?
Square.
Square both sides. Right? What happens to the square and the square root? They cancel out. So here we go. 6x minus 9 equals x squared. Ben, do you agree I want the x squared to be positive, right? So I'm going to move which one? That's correct. So 0 equals x squared. Now, Alice, when I move the 6x, it becomes what? What is it right now? Right? Then when I move the 9, it becomes what? That's correct. Everybody see that? Now it's quadratic, so what do I have to do? Factor it out. So it factors to what? Very, very good. So the only possible answer is x is equal to what? 3. It's called a double root. All right, so I think x equals 3 is my answer, but I'm going to check my work. So the square root, 6 times 3 minus 9, does that equal 3? Well, what's 6 times 3? 18 minus 9. Does the square root of 9 equal 3? So that's good. We just checked our work. All right, that's not bad. All right, let's grab 18. Let's see if it's getting any harder. Or 19. Yep, it is. Okay, what do I do to both sides? Square both sides, right? Okay, now you got to really pay attention on this one. Square both sides. Parentheses, parentheses, squared. All right, now this is a really important review problem. Really, really, really good review problem. It's got a little bit of everything. Square roots, squares, expanding a binomial. All right, so what happens to the left side? That just becomes what? No.
Plus 5.
X plus 5. Again, the square root and the square do what to each other?
Cancel.
They cancel, right? So I have x plus 5 equals. Now, remember, x minus 1 squared is x minus 1 times x minus 1. Do you agree with this? So now what's x times x? X squared. Now we do our smiley face. Remember, how much is that? Negative 1x. How much is this? So that's a total of negative 2x. And then negative 1 times negative 1 is what? Positive 1. Emily, was that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Jess, you still good?
Mm-hmm.
Allison, you still with me?
Yeah.
Kate, how you doing? All right, boys, you guys all right over there? Expanding a binomial. That's why I'm saying this was a really, really hard problem, actually. Because there's just multiple things you have to be aware of. How do you undo a square root? Square. How do you square a binomial? Now you have a quadratic, you have to know how to solve a quadratic. Solving a quadratic means you have to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to move the x over, and I'm going to move the 5 over. When I move the x over, how many x's do I end up with? How many x's? Come on. Everybody tell me. How many? Well, you're almost right. No, I wasn't meaning that. You're subtracting. So it's not positive 3x, but what? Come on now. Now look, if you're not with me on that now, and here's the thing I wish some of you guys, I'm really trying to help you with your mental math. So if you can't see that though, just put in your mind minus x minus x. Now I'm going to move the 5. So when I move the 5, I get a what? Negative 4. Right? Because we did minus 5, minus 5. Will, how you doing on that?
Great.
Okay. Colin, you still in there?
Yep.
Okay, so now we have to factor. 0 equals,
X minus 4, X plus 1.
good job, buddy, x minus 4, x plus 1. So x could equal what? 4, or x could equal what? Negative 1. So now I need to look. All right? See my problem. My original was here, right? So, do you think negative 1's going to work?
Nope.
The reason negative 1's not going to work, now please listen, If I were to plug -1 in here, that would make a square root equal to a what? Negative, thank you. So is that possible? No. So this is our extraneous solution. Now we're going to plug in 4. The square root of 4 plus 5, does that equal 4 minus 1? Yes. So that's a good answer. 19 is a good answer. All right, 21. All right, we got a little problem here for 21. What do I have to do first? No. Isolate. Thank you. How do I isolate? -5. Very good. Very good. So you're going to have the square root of r minus 3 equals r minus 5. So what am I doing to both sides now? Help me. What am I doing?
Squaring.
Squaring both sides. Now notice I put parentheses here and I square. Parentheses and squared. Now tell me what happens to the square root and the square. What do they do to each other? So I'm left with what? Help me. Come on, come on. R minus 3. Speak up, guys. That's how you get smarter. Speak up. R minus 3. Now we have a problem because I have to multiply r minus 5 times r minus 5. So let me give you 30 seconds. Go. Multiply r minus 5 times r minus 5. All right, here we go. So someone tell me r minus 3 is equal to, what did you get?
R squared minus 4 minus 5.
Which is the same as,
R squared minus 2.
thank you. Now look right here. Watch. Here's how I want you to mentally do it, right? This is how people do it in their head. It's just you see that as what? -5, and you see that as -5. Max, you see what I'm saying? You're smart enough to just say that's -10. Right? You don't have to write minus 5r minus 5r. Just see it as -10. Girls, are you okay with that? Boys up front, you okay? All right, now it's quadratic, so you got to set it equal to 0. So 0 is equal to r squared, then what? Minus, no. Somebody tell me. No. Ben. Minus 11r, then what? Plus 28. All right, now we're practicing mental math, so come on. So what did I do? I subtracted r, right? And I added 3. Subtracted r and added 3. Is that good? Now, does that factor?
Yes.
Somebody besides Jack, tell me what that factors to.
R minus 7.
Exactly. R minus 7 and r minus 4. Everybody agree? So r could equal either 4 or 7. Now it looks like they both work because they're positives. But guess what? I want everybody to look at this. r minus 3, the square root, is equal to r minus 5. What happens if I plug a 4 into the right side? If I plug 4 into the right side,
It would be 4 minus 5.
which is
Negative 1.
-1. Is it possible for the square root to be negative? No. That's why we say r equals 4 is an extraneous solution. I wonder if it'll be better if I turn it this way. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, I don't think. All right. So the only possible answer is what? 7.
Wait, so how do you know it's 7 again?
Yeah, for the square root's one of the few times that you have to actually check your work to see if it's right. Because you can do all the math correct and still not have a right answer. It's called an extraneous solution. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
So you have to plug it in. Yeah,
And so these 6 problems, you should always check.
you should always check them.
Yeah,
just to be sure. Yep. All right, last one, guys, and I appreciate it because I think today was good. All right, so here we go. Last one, 23. See how much you can do, okay? I'm going to put it on both sides here, guys. Square. Come on, we got this now. Square both sides. So what happens to the left side? It's just what? Right. 5n plus 4. Okay, now when you squared n plus 2 squared, what is it?
N squared plus 4 n plus 4.
All right, girls, y'all are off quiet. You okay with that or not? Girls? Now it's quadratic, so I have to do what? Set it equal to 0. Okay, so let's see if we can do the mental math. So 0 is equal to what?
N
N what?
Oh wait, sorry. N squared plus 9n plus 8.
Whoa, you messed that all
yeah,
up.
sorry.
Come on. N squared what?
Minus n.
Good.
Minus, or just 0.
Yeah, there you go. There it is, right there. Okay, that was it. Now, it's a little bit different factoring because there's just a GCF. So I factor out a what? An n, and you're left with n minus 1. So n could equal 0, or n can equal what? 1. All right, that's pretty complicated, guys. Believe it or not, if you understand that, you're in pretty good shape. All right, now we got to double check our answers, of course.
Would you go for like n squared minus n to like n?
Okay, I factored out an n. It's the GCF. So what am I telling you? There's a.
Oh,
You remember that now? Common n. All right. You okay with that? Now we're gonna check our work, right? So I'm gonna come down here. I'm just gonna. Okay. So now I'm gonna plug in 0. Does 0 work? The square root is 0 plus 4. Does that equal 0 plus 2? What's the square root of 4?
2.
Does 2 equal 0?
Oh, yeah.
So we put a check by 0. That works. Now we're going to plug in 1. Square root of 5 plus 4, does that equal 1 plus 2? So they both work this time. There doesn't always have to be an extraneous solution. And believe it or not, both of them could be a what? An extraneous solution. Then you say no solutions. Exactly correct. Guys, everybody okay with that? I don't think that's so bad. All right. But listen to me, guys. Really, really, really important problems, especially those you guys. I keep talking to you about We're getting closer to, you might have to take an entrance exam if you're going to a private school. They want to know how much algebra you know. 15 through 23 are excellent problems because they reviewed a lot of stuff. Whether you know how to square, square root, factor, those types of things. All right? So now what I want you to try tonight, again, 2 through 14 are pretty what? Easy. It's 16 through 24 that I want you to concentrate on too. All right? And listen, I'm posting the answers. So come on, check your work. All right? Now, what time do we get out of here? 4 minutes. Okay. So tomorrow, the first thing I'm just going to tell you, in class, we're going to start the review, but I'm going to check your work for the week. All right? I want to see you're doing your work because it's just sometimes I don't have time to check it. I'd rather do problems than check your homework. So tomorrow, the first thing I'm going to do is check your work. So make sure you have it done. All right? I'll post the work. I don't want just the answers. Notice all of my work. That's what I'm expecting it to be on yours. All right, guys, really good day if you understand everything.